All right, Rand, let's make our way down to Athens, Georgia. Christen Miller, University of Georgia, played on, it doesn't really matter the year, the last 5 or 6 or 7 years. It's going to be a dominating defense at Georgia. Of course, they had Malachi Starks drafted. We know about that. Christen Miller is going to be the next one in a long line of great Georgia players to get drafted. The only question becomes how high. He was number 3 on my list, number 3 on your list. Unverified 6'4", 305. So he's a little lighter than the guys we've talked about here. Also plays over the center, but he can play all the way out to 7 technique on the outside of the tackle. And they were versatile in terms of the way they used him at Georgia. Thought he played with active hands, played with low pad level, which is something we just talked about. He's disruptive both as a run and a passer. I thought he had surprisingly quick get off. Shoots the gap with that athleticism. So I'll ask you, when you're looking at these defensive linemen, whether they're going to be 305 or north of 330, 6'4", 305 unofficially, what are you looking for specifically in terms of the scheme that you want him to fit into?
Well, again, I think to use what you just said, you said what scheme, and I think it's really based off of what do you do, right? So if you're running a 3-4 defense and he's 6'4", 305 or whatever we said the numbers were, you want to see a guy that can probably play a little bit down the line in terms of versatility. Personally, that's what one of the first things I put. I said he is a first and second down versatile defensive lineman. And you hit it, and my next note was he can play from the 5 to the 7 on base downs. And so that's where I saw him. I didn't know what to expect, honestly, watching him, because they had Stackhouse and Brinson last year, and so I was like, hey, how much are we going to actually see this guy? But he jumped off the tape, and I thought he was tough to move off the spot. And I thought he could also create knockback in the run game. Now, the earlier tape you watch, you saw him try to out-athlete a block, to use that term again, and he favored trying to use his arm over every time and quick swim. But in the later games, you saw him press blocks more, and then he used his strength and his good grip strength, to stack and shed blocks. And you see that a lot with these young defensive linemen, and particularly young guys who are trying to make an impact when they get in the game. We had that very early in Michael Brocker's career. We're talking a 6'5", 325-pound guy that tried to match Aaron Donald's quickness next to him and attack gaps, and was like, no, you are a big man, you press blocks, and you create knockback. And once he started embracing that, he became a dominant player up front. And so I like to see that growth in Christen Miller that he showed from the earlier part of the season, trying to out-athlete blocks, trying to attack gaps, trying to force himself to make a play, to using his natural skill set and becoming a guy that pressed blocks and recreated the line of scrimmage. So, and I also thought, for a guy that's 300-plus pounds, man, he played really hard. He had a good motor. He had a good effort, and he chased the ball. He ran out of the stack, and those are things that you like to see when you turn on the tape. Because if a lot of times, those corners or those edge defender, whoever setting the edge, will force the action back to the stack. And that's, as a former ball carrier, that's one of the things you're looking for as you break to the perimeter and you're forced to cut back inside. They'll tell you, don't keep cutting back across the middle. And so you're looking for these guys running out of the stack, and good things happen when you run to the football. So it was encouraging to see Christen Miller do that.
Hey, let me ask you this. So at Tennessee, you drafted T'Vondre Sweat in the second round, and he is not 305. He is probably closer to 350. Is that fair to say? Is that being polite?
That's very polite.
But he plays next to Jeffrey Simmons, who is closer to Christen Miller's frame at 6'4", 305-ish. Would you have been comfortable taking someone Jeffrey Simmons' size, had he been available, that you liked in the second round there instead of T'Vondre? Had T'Vondre already been taken or whatnot? My question is basically, are you okay having guys of similar size, or do you like the idea of having a first and second down enforcer in T'Vondre Sweat next to Jeffrey Simmons, who is quick twitch?
Well, here's the funny thing. And yes, Jeffrey Simmons is very quick twitch. He's a 3 technique. But Jeff, if Jeff is 305, that means he just got sick and he lost a ton of weight. Because Jeff in and of himself is a 325-pound man that's just moving like that.
Okay, there you go.
I would have been comfortable because we were considering other defensive linemen there that were significantly smaller than Sweat, but Sweat was the perfect guy to match with a Jeffrey Simmons. And let's not get it confused. And there's the clip out there. I can't remember off the top of my head which game it was, but Big Sweat forcing a fumble. stripping the guy from the ball. I want to say it was Cincinnati, and him running with the football. You kind of saw his athleticism, and even for a 350 plus pound
50.
person,
There we go.
you saw him move with the ball. And even if you go back and look at this tape at Texas, in their offensive goal line stuff, they would put him and Byron Murphy in the backfield and even put Sweat at tight end. So these big men have athleticism and they can move, and you love to see it. But going back to Christen Miller, I was thoroughly surprised, and I'm excited to watch him play this year, just because he's going to have more time on task and he'll get more reps that Brinson and Stackhouse were getting last year. He'll be the featured guy, and I think he'll put up significantly better numbers in 2025.
And that's the other thing we should talk about a lot, especially with Alabama players, in that if you stay at Alabama, and I know things have changed with NIL, but you're willing to sit behind every single five-star in front of you, and you don't get to play until your junior year, significant snaps. I think you can take something away in terms of being what it means to be a teammate and to buy in and all those other things. Do you buy into that, or you just want to see a dude who can ball? Like, are you okay if he gets angry because he's not playing and transfers, or do you want to see someone who understands what it means to sort of have to go through some trials and tribulations to get where you want to get to?
I mean, you always love the battle tested guys, the guys that have dealt with adversity and know how to handle it. You love that. Now, in terms of the transfer thing, and we've talked about it a lot with a ton of these players in this summer scouting series that we're doing. I like to see the guys that if you're going to transfer, you transfer quote unquote up to play better competition. I love to see that, because you want a different challenge versus the guys that are, unhappy with their role. And hey, look, at the end of the day, you chose that university and your role was probably talked to. Now, I know coaches do what they have to do to get you to the school, but you saw the roster and you saw those players that were in front of you. Now, unless you had an inflated opinion of yourself and felt like you were going to come in and beat out some of these guys, then that's on you. But I love to see the guys like the Cam Wards and, the Fernando Mendozas, those guys that transfer up to go play at a higher competition level to show you that they are indeed those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Lee Hunter fits that mold. UCF to Texas Tech, and you talked about all the money Texas Tech has spent. They're going to be players. It feels like once we start watching these football games in just a few weeks now, which is also crazy. So I had Christen Miller as like a mid-second round pick, early third round pick as we sit here, and you can disagree or not with that, but I'll give you my comp, which you very well may disagree with. I had a trouble finding one here, so I looked for guys who were similar sized and went in the similar round range that I think that Miller has a chance. What do you think about another Christian Barmore?
I say Miller is more athletic
Ooh,
than,
okay.
than Christian Barmore. I think their styles are similar, but I think Barmore was more of a physical, presence than Christen Miller's probably shown. And that's not to knock Christen Miller's physicality and presence, but I would have to go back and throw on some tape of Barmore when he came out, because I like Barmore a lot. I had him as a starter level player in the
Okay.
league when he came out, but I just need to refresh on that one. So I won't kill
Okay.
you quite
Now,
yet.
okay. No, I like that because this means the farther I go back, the less you remember about the player, the more inclined you'll be to agree with the comp. So I got it figured out now because, and look, I'll be honest. I have to go back and watch these guys we're talking about today because I watched them back in May and I've already forgotten about them. But that was a fun exercise as well.